Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over the polar vortex, which is going to be making its way into parts of the northern United States. We're going to be talking about how cold those temperatures will be getting, because in some areas it could feel like it's as cold as negative 40 or even negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to be going over your temperatures, your temperature anomalies, and then also your wind chill temperatures and a couple other factors, because we will be dealing with these very cold temperatures as well as a stormy pattern over a lot of these areas. So you might be able to get a little bit of snow out of this pattern for some of these areas. It's definitely looking a lot more wintry for many of these areas, from the Midwest and the northern plains all the way back through the East Coast. We're going to be going over again how cold those temperatures will be and what they'll actually feel like from their wind chills in just a moment. So let's get right into it here, and let's start off with your current National Weather Service page. We have some winter weather advisories in effect for the Northwest. We also have some more winter weather advisories in effect for the Great Lakes and into the northern plains. That's from that system that we talked about in yesterday's video. We actually have wind chill watches in effect for parts of North Dakota and Minnesota, as well as some winter storm warnings in effect in the pink for parts of Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, and the entire UP of Michigan, as well as northwestern Michigan there. And then we have some blizzard warnings in effect for north central Iowa. I don't think they actually should be blizzard warnings. The criteria really doesn't match it. You need sustained winds of 35 miles per hour at most. I've seen sustained winds of 25 to 30 miles per hour on the highest end of the models. So I think it's more likely that you'll just be under that winter weather advisory, or at least you won't feel the full effects of this blizzard. I think the blizzard warning was a bit premature from the National Weather Service. We also have some avalanche warnings in effect for central Colorado in the higher elevations, and then some wind advisories back down through the south central states, and even a few winter storm watches and winter weather advisories still back through the northeast. And your high temperature yesterday was in Rio Grande Village in Texas. They got to 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and then we had two low temperatures that are tied together, and they're both really close to each other in the southern UP of Michigan. 1 mile west of Amasa, Michigan, they got to negative 10 degrees, and at 2 miles southeast of Stambaugh, Michigan, they also got to negative 10 degrees. And you can see those tiny blue dots on the screen in the UP of Michigan. Those are where those two locations are, and you can tell they're very, very close together. So we definitely did see some very cold temperatures, and that's only the start of what we're going to be dealing with as we're going to start to talk about these actual temperatures, and we're going to start to play it out for you guys, and we're going to talk about when the coldest days of this polar vortex attack are going to be. So here's what the European model is showing for the low temperatures tomorrow. So this is Friday, the 5th of February. We're looking at below zero temperatures anywhere from basically this greenish color northward. That's below zero. Anywhere south of there, you're above zero. But once you get out of the pretty much the dark reds and the purples, those are where you're below about 15 degrees Fahrenheit. So pretty much anywhere in those dark red colors or those purples, or even into the teal green colors, that's where you're getting into the very cold temperatures, and that's where you're going to be fairly cold for this time of year. So we see the main polar vortex and the main cold air is still up to the north in parts of central Canada and even into northern Canada. But let's move this forward a little bit. And you can see by Saturday, it is starting to make its way further to the south. We have low temperatures that in parts of Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, back through into North Dakota and Montana are dealing with below zero low temperatures, even double-digit below zero in some of these areas, and wind chills are going to be much, much colder. You can see that 15-degree above zero line is pretty much stretching throughout much of the north-central part of the country, from the Ohio Valley westward to about Montana and Wyoming. And then here would be by Sunday, and it's getting a lot colder for these areas. So now much of the state of Minnesota, even back through North Dakota, much of Wisconsin, northern Iowa are dealing with double-digit below zero temperatures, even closer to negative 20 or negative 25 degrees Fahrenheit. And you can still see that the core of the cold air is not into the United States just yet. It's still back through Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Canada. So it's still up here, and they're dealing with temperatures negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit, not in wind chills, actual temperatures that that are negative 50, and that core of cold air, not with the same ferocity. It's not going to be negative 50 degrees in the United States. Maybe your wind chills might reach that, but we're going to be dealing with the core of that cold air in a lesser extent, moving further south into parts of the north central United States, and this is really going to dominate your pattern. It's going to be right in between that, right between the 30 and 40 degree temperature line, so right in between here by this point where the stormy track is going to be. Wherever you get the dividing line, pretty much along that freezing line is where that track is going to be. So your storm track is going to be somewhere kind of like this on Sunday. So your general jet stream dip is something like that, and that's where your storms are going to move across. So really the southern extent of the very cold air is where those storms are going to start to track, and that's where the most snow will actually occur, right on the southern edge of this cold air. As you get further to the north, it's too dry for these storms, so you want to get to the southern edge of that cold air where you still have moisture, but you also have that very cold air in place. That's where you're going to get the snowstorms. And here would be by Monday. You can see the cold air is actually shifting a bit further to the west. You can see much of even southern, central, and back through northern Canada, of course, are below zero for a lot of these areas. Still below zero in terms of your low temperatures for parts of the northern plains. Here would be by Tuesday the 9th. Here's Wednesday the 10th. And now the core of the cold air has split apart. So we have one right here. We have one right here. So we have two different cores of cold air. And both of them are kind of wedging some of that cold air still into the north central United States. It's not as cold as it was, but still it's very cold. It's below zero and even closer to negative 10 degrees below zero. Here to be by Thursday the 11th, and here's by Friday the 12th, and this is when they start to kind of move together. Here's your core of cold air by this point, and it's over the north central plains and back through into southern Ontario, Canada there, where you are dealing with most of that colder or the coldest air by this point. And here's the last day on this model. Still very cold for a lot of these areas, even closer to negative 20 in parts of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Wisconsin. And you can definitely tell the general shape of the jet stream by this point. We have a general kind of curve down into the eastern United States, where you have that cold air pressing into the eastern part of the country, and that's where your storms are going to track. They're going to track again pretty much just south of where the kind of the coldest temperatures are. So your jet stream track by this point would be right around here. Now whether we get storms to move across that is going to be the bigger question, and whether we can actually get anything to move through that area is going to determine whether you actually get any snow out of this. So here's your wind chills and your low temperature wind chills for the various days that we just looked at. So here would be by tomorrow morning. We're dealing with wind chills closer to negative 20 degrees in some of these areas. Here would be by Saturday morning. Here's by Sunday morning. So we're dealing with wind chills up in northern Manitoba and Saskatchewan, Canada, that are closer to negative 70 or negative 75 degrees Fahrenheit. And again, that core of cold air, the coldest air, is going to shift further to the south. Of course, we're not going to see those extreme temperatures into the United States, but we will get some effects of that, and we'll get some of that cold air to linger further to the south. So here would be by Monday, here would be by Tuesday, and we're dealing with much of the northern plains, even back through into the Rockies and then into the Great Lakes, dealing with more of that below zero wind chills, more of those below zero wind chills. And then here would be by Wednesday, here's by Thursday, here's by Friday of next week, and we're dealing with those cold temperatures overtaking the entire eastern part of the country, and those below zero temperatures basically for the entire northern half of the country, except for the west coast there, where you're dealing with below zero wind chills on Friday morning. Here to be by Saturday morning, and then here to be your temperature anomaly. So that wraps up the model run for the wind chills. Let's start talking about how far below or above normal these temperatures will be, and then we'll start to look at a couple of different factors. So we're dealing with warm air ahead of a storm system on Friday. So we have warm air for the East Coast, we have cold air behind that for the Great Lakes and the Mississippi River Valley, and then this is when you're really going to start to see that cold air. You see the coldest air back through into Alberta, Saskatchewan, even into a little bit of British Columbia and Canada, and that's going to start to spill into the United States. So you can tell that the north central part of the country dealing with those closer to negative 20 or negative 30 degrees below normal over those areas, and then that's going to continue to intensify. Here would be by Monday of next week. Here's by Tuesday of next week, Wednesday, Thursday. We're dealing with very cold temperatures for much of the country by this point, especially the northern part of the country, but that might also bleed down into the southern part of the country. So for areas in the south central states or even into the southeast, it looks like you could get into some of those colder temperatures. The only area that might miss out on this really is going to be potentially the desert southwest. It looks like you guys might remain above average for this entirety of the event. Here would be by Friday morning, and then here's by Saturday morning, and this is when it gets really, really cold and really below average, especially for some of these southern states right here, from the southeast to the south central United States. It looks like you guys get in on the very cold temperatures, but even for parts of the Great Lakes, you're close to negative 25 to negative 30 degrees below average. So you guys are also looking at some colder temperatures, very cold temperatures, and this might be one of the more rare events this winter in terms of we really haven't seen too much very cold air. We've seen a couple events here and there, mainly constricted to just the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Montana. This might be your first kind of full-blown entire country, for the most part, cold air mass that dips down. And this is going to be really an interesting thing that we haven't seen in quite a while. We really didn't see one too much in 2020 back last winter, and it looks like we might get our chance of seeing some sort of polar vortex dip down into the United States this time. So here's the Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day outlook, and this goes from Tuesday of next week to Saturday, and we're looking at of next week, and we're looking at more of those very below average temperatures back through much of the eastern and the eastern 2/3 of the country, I guess you could say. And you can see that these are in percent chances, but you can tell that the darker shades are going to be where you're looking at more of those extreme temperatures. And we're looking at even a shade of 90% or plus area for parts of Iowa, Minnesota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Missouri, and into Illinois, Wisconsin, and even a little bit of North Dakota there. Right around that area, they rarely put out a 90% chance of either above normal or below normal temperatures. They rarely even put out above an 80% chance, which they have the entire north central part of the country under. So they are definitely eyeing up this potential for very, very cold temperatures, and they are definitely catching on to this at the Climate Prediction Centers. Here's that 8 to 14 day outlook from Thursday of next week to Wednesday of the week after, and we're looking at the core of that cold air shifting further to the south, but still the entire eastern United States under that rather high chance of below normal temperatures, over 50% chance for that entire region of seeing below normal temperatures. So you are definitely looking at a very, very cold upcoming pattern. Here's the 3 to 4 week outlook. So this goes from February 13th through the 22nd, and we're looking at still, even 3 to 4 weeks out, they are still showing up to a 70% chance of below normal temperatures for Minnesota and North Dakota. They rarely even go above 60% chance. So they are really, really confident that you are going to be seeing some below normal temperatures throughout the north central United States. And if we look at the 1 month probabilities of being below normal, you're looking at, again, a 60% chance still, and I don't remember the last time they actually went over 50% chance. So they are definitely very, very confident of this happening, and they are showing much of the, especially the northern and even in the 1 month outlook, the western part of the country under those below normal temperatures. And then here's the risk of hazardous temperatures, and you can tell that, again, much of the eastern 2/3 of the country are under a high or moderate risk. The high risk anywhere within this region, according to the Climate Prediction Center, and that moderate risk includes much of the country from about the Rockies eastward, where you're dealing with at least a moderate chance of seeing hazardous temperatures, and mainly in the cold, mainly hazardous cold temperatures out of this, and even a slight risk all the way down into parts of the south central states and all the way down to the Gulf Coast, where you're dealing with that chance of excessively below normal temperatures. And then here's another parameter that I want to look at. These are your chances of seeing a wind chill below zero. You can tell that anywhere in that darkest shade of blue, that's over a 90% chance of seeing a wind chill below zero between the 11th through the 17th of February. Here's that chance of seeing negative 20-degree wind chills or lower, and you can see that we have chances that are over 90% chance for this area right through the north central part of the country. And then here would be your chances of seeing wind chills below negative 40 degrees, and even that's an 80 to 90% chance right here. And even if you're not included in this coloring right here, that's only a 50% chance right here. So there are chances, even if you're outside of that, through much of the northern plains, to see wind chills that that are below negative 40 degrees. I wouldn't say it's likely, but we can't rule it out just yet. So we are looking at definitely a very, very cold and active pattern moving throughout the country. Tomorrow's video, if the models are still showing it, we're going to be talking about that potential northeast storm for Sunday, which I know a lot of people have been mentioning, and we'll discuss that a lot more in tomorrow's video if it's still in the models, and that's a big if because we still need to see what the overnight runs of the models will do, and there's still a ton of uncertainty regarding that system. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.